Hello everyone. Welcome to CUET PG classes for Sociology by CUET BABA. I hope you all are doing well and studying hard. Today, we are going to study about sociology, definition, nature, scope, and relationship with other social sciences, which is part of a Module 1, Basic Concepts in Sociology. Before starting with the lecture, I would request you all to please keep a pen and a notebook with you so that you can make notes, which will help you understand the concepts better and also aid you in revising later. So, without any further ado, let's begin with this particular component of your CUET syllabus. This is a brief introduction as to the topic, right? So, the first point tells you about different names that sociology was given before being termed as sociology. Sociology was called social physics, social philosophy, philosophy of history, and ethology. Sociology emerged as an independent social sciences in the 19th century, and that is why sociology is also referred to as one of the youngest social sciences. Before being termed sociology in 1839 by Auguste Comte, we have already seen what sociology was called. Sociology is made of two words, socius and logos. Socius means companion and logos means science or study. So, sociology as a discipline is the study of companion, is the study of the group of individuals, is the study of society, right? So, one thing that you need to note about this particular topic is that this particular lecture is going to be very factual. It is not very explanation heavy. So, whenever you are trying to make notes, please make extensive keyword oriented notes so that you will be able to revise it and remember it at the time of your examination. Also, wherever they will be needed, I will give you an elaboration of the particular concept or topic or word wherever needed, right? So, let's move on. What Auguste Comte thought was sociology. According to Auguste Comte, sociology is the science of social phenomena subject to natural and invariable laws, the discovery of which is the object of investigation. Whenever you're referring to any definition by any sociologist, your aim should be to find out the keywords. For example, in this particular definition by Auguste Comte, what can be the keywords? The keywords can be first, the object of investigation. The second, it's a social phenomena. Third, it can be natural and invariable laws. Now, whenever if CUETPG gives you this definition of sociology, you will just have to look towards these keywords. And amongst the options, you will know that this particular definition has been given by Auguste Comte. Because throughout the course of your syllabus, you are going to encounter a lot of definitions by a lot of thinkers and sociologists. And then it becomes difficult for you to remember all of them in great detail. So that is why I'm focusing when I say that please make keyword oriented notes. This is what I mean, right? Now, this is the definition of sociology by other sociologists and thinkers. We'll go through all of them one by one, and I hope you will be able to recognize the keywords for each of them. The first definition has been given by Kingsley Davis. Kingsley Davis says that sociology is the general science of society. Here, the keyword can be general science, right? Emile Durkheim defines sociology as the science of social institutions and social facts. Social facts is the keyword here. Park says that sociology is the science of collective behavior. Collective behavior is the keyword. Ogburn and Nimkoff says that sociology is the scientific study of social life. Social life is the keyword here. You also have to remember that the keyword has to be a little unique when it comes to that particular definition. Only then you will be able to clearly recognize who has given that particular definition. Giddings says that sociology is the science of social phenomena. Social phenomenon becomes the keyword here. Fairchild says that sociology is the study of man and his human environment in their relations to each other. Human environment can be the keyword here. Lastly, Max Weber says that sociology is a science which attempts the interpretative understanding of social action in order thereby to arrive at a causal explanation of its course and effects. Social action is the keyword here. I hope now it is clear to you what I mean when I say that you have to make keyword oriented notes, and I hope this technique will help you in scoring better marks in CUET examination as well. Now let's move on and see what is the nature of sociology. Now when we come to topics like nature of sociology and scope of sociology, you will be able to notice that these are very descriptive topics, right? These are very descriptive subcomponents. So how would you be able to prepare for them? Again, firstly, make keyword oriented notes. Secondly, when CUET asks these questions, which is a very rare phenomena, whenever CUET asks you questions about nature of sociology or scope of sociology, they will provide you many options and ask you which one of the following is not the nature of sociology, which one of the following is not the scope of sociology. Or they can ask which among the following options are nature of sociology or are scope of sociology. Right? So you have to remember that these types of questions are less asked by CUET but nevertheless they are important component of your CUET examination, not only from the point of view of scoring marks, but also from the point of view that you are going to study sociology further in your masters, and that is why these particular topics, these particular components are very important for you to develop a fundamental understanding of sociology as a discipline. Right? So now let's see what is the nature of sociology. This particular nature of sociology that I am going to read out the points is given by Robert Bierdes. Now you do not have to remember the name of the sociologist here, but it is just for your reference point of view that these particular points which comprise of nature of sociology are given by Robert Bierdes. The first point is independent science as it has its field of study, boundary and method. So the first point in the nature of sociology is that it is an independent science. Second, social science is not a physical science as it concentrates on man, his social behavior, social activities, and social life. So, sociology is a social science and it is not a physical science. And they have given the reason further to elaborate as to why. Third, it confines itself to statements about what is, not what should be or ought to be. It does not make any kind of value judgment. So value judgments are not made in sociology. That is the nature of sociology. So it is ethically neutral, right? It is ethically non-biased, unbiased. We do not need to know which opinion is right. We just need to know that there exists a lot of opinions and what are those lot of opinions, right? Lastly, it is a pure science. It is not an applied science, as the aim of sociology is the acquisition of knowledge and it is not bothered whether the acquired knowledge is useful or can be put to use. Again, because sociology is concerned about what is, it is not concerned about what should be, what ought to be, what needs to be corrected. So it is a pure science because it is a theoretical science which focuses on the acquisition of knowledge. Right? So I hope this was clear to you, the nature of sociology. Another is that it is an abstract science and not a concrete science, as it is more concerned with the form of human events and their patterns. So in sociology, we focus a lot on social interactions. Now, social interactions cannot be touched like things can be touched in physical sciences. So again, sociology is an abstract discipline. Sociology tried to find out the general laws or principles about human interaction and association, about the nature, form, content, and structure of human groups and societies. So, sociology tries to find general laws and principles, right? Lastly, both rational and empirical. One stresses reasons and theories, and other focuses on experience and observation. So, sociology is a science which is both rational and empirical. Rational means anything that has a reasoning, logical value. Empirical means something that can be experienced, that can be experimented, right? So, what is the nature of sociology according to Robert Bierdes? According to Robert Bierdes, the nature of sociology comprises that it is an independent science, it is a social science, it confines itself to the statement of what is, it is ethically neutral, It is a pure science, it is an abstract science, and sociology tries to find out general laws or principles. And lastly, it is both a rational and empirical science. I hope this was clear. I've already mentioned the keywords while referring to each of these points. Now let's move on to the scope of sociology, right? Sociology, the scope of sociology can be of two types: specialistic or formalistic school. These are the school of thoughts that exist in sociology at a very, very broad level. There are a lot of further classifications that are being now done in sociology. So, according to specialistic or formalistic school, sociology should confine itself to the study of certain aspects of human relationships only, right? So, because as the name suggests, specialistic, right? So, there are certain special aspects that sociology should be confining itself to according to the specialistic or formalistic school of thought, which is part of scope of sociology. The second is synthetic school. Synthetic school says that all parts of social life are intimately interrelated. So you cannot only study one part of social life. You have to study the whole of social life because it is so intricately interconnected that you cannot study it in isolation. Hence, the study of one aspect is not sufficient to understand the entire phenomena. This is the argument of the synthetic school. Now let's delve a little more into what is formalistic school and what is synthetic school. The formalistic school is led by German sociologist George Simmel. Now, these again are very factual, so you need to remember them. You need to know these facts. Please write them down in your notes so that you are able to revise them on a regular basis, and you do not have to remember them at the very last stage of your preparation for the CUETPG examination. So, formalistic school is led by German sociologist George Simmel, and others who support this particular school of thought is Workendant, Max Weber, Small, von Wiese, and Ferdinand Tönnies. Simmel and others think that sociology is a pure and independent science. Now you know that Beardest also thinks like the same, right? Because Beardest also say that sociology is a pure science and it is an independent science. And as a pure science, because a pure science is only limited to the acquisition of knowledge, it has very limited scope, right? Max Weber says sociology aims to interpret or understand social behavior, but social behavior does not cover the whole field of human relations. And because sociology only focuses on this particular social behavior aspect of society, that is why sociology is a specialistic science or a formalistic science, right? Kant says that sociology concerns itself with the ultimate form of mental or psychic relationship which links men to one another in society. Now, this was about formalistic school. Let's move on and study about synthetic school now. Synthetic school says that sociology is a synthesis of social sciences. That sociology is not made a is not a science which only has its own exclusive theories, its own exclusive researches. It's a synthesis of social science. Every social science comes inside sociology. It wants to make sociology a general social science and not a pure social science. So, according to synthetic school, sociology is not a pure social science. Right now, who were the chief exponents of synthetic school? Chief exponents of synthetic school of thought are Durkheim, Emil Durkheim, Hobhouse, Ginsberg, and Petrim Sorokin. Right? These are again facts that you do need to remember. CUETPG does ask questions about scope of sociology and who were the proponents, who were the founders, who were the contributors to this particular school of thought. Now, what are the views of Emil Durkheim? Because Emil Durkheim is one of the classical sociologists and he is also termed as the father of sociology. We need to know what views of Durkheim are, which correspond to the fact that we are referring him one of the chief exponents of the synthetic school of thought. The first is social morphology. He divides sociology into three types, into three parts, not types actually. So he says that social morphology studies territorial basis of life and also the problems of population such as volume and density, local distribution, etc. The second is social physiology. which includes religion, morals, law, economic life, and language. And lastly is general sociology, which is the philosophical part like social facts. Its function is formulation of general laws. I hope this is very, very clear to you because I have tried to write this in very easy language for all of you to understand. Now, George Ritzer says that sociology is study of individual in social settings that includes groups, organizations, culture, and society. Now, in this particular definition of George Ritzer, what can be the keywords? The keywords can be study of individuals in social settings. Right now, let's move on and see what is the relationship of sociology with other social sciences. I have included tables for each of the disciplines that we will be comparing sociology to. Again, as I already have reiterated before, that this particular lecture is not very explanation heavy. There is only two aims or learning objectives from this particular lecture. The first being that it is an introductory section. It is an introductory lecture towards what sociology is, or what are the components that you might be dealing with further in your syllabus and in sociology as a discipline as a whole also. And secondly, it is a very factual lecture, so there are a lot of questions that might be asked in CUETPG from these particular slides. So please go through them, revise them, make notes out of them, make keyword oriented notes which will help you remember things faster and also save your time in making notes, right? So the first comparison that we will be doing is between psychology and sociology. So psychology is the study of personality, while sociology is the study of individual as well as of the society. Psychology is a science of man's experience and behaviors, and its subject matter includes basic instincts, sympathies, suggestions, limitations, and passions. On the other hand, sociology is the scientific study of social institutions and their interrelationship, and its subject matter includes family, individual, religion, and social structure. I hope you're able to see where they are contrasting. But psychology and sociology are usually referred to be very closely related, and people who do not have knowledge about either of these subjects often confuse these two subjects as well. So that is why it is important for you to know what is the distinction between psychology and sociology, right? Psychology is limited in its scope and is focused on man's mental activities and basic behaviors, while sociology is the general study of society and has a wider scope, right? Finally, psychology is more scientific and has more scope of experimentation, and there are even psychological laboratories which are used. On the other hand, sociology has multiple perspectives, and its claim of scientific discipline is even contested within the discipline itself. I hope it was clear as to what is the difference between psychology and sociology, what is the relationship between sociology and psychology. Now, let's move on to another very important discipline of anthropology, which again is considered to be very interchangeable to sociology, right? So, anthropology has taken birth from curiosity of Western scholars in primitive societies in non Western countries. Anthropologists describe and analyze in clinically neutral terms because they can pace themselves as outsiders without being involved in values. On the other hand, sociology originated from philosophy of history, political thought, and positive sciences in the light of challenges posed by modernity. The methods employed by sociologists are loaded with values, and hence their conclusions are tinged with ethical considerations. Social anthropology tended to study society in all their aspects as a whole. Social anthropologists tend to closely study small societies which are relatively unchanging and lacking in historical records. While when we consider sociology as a discipline, sociologists often study parts of an existing society and they try to make more and more specialization as they move ahead. Anthropologists generally live in the community. That means that they are practicing participant observation and they study in order to observe and record what they see. The analysis is essentially qualitative. Sociologists often rely on statistics and questionnaires, and their analysis is often formal and quantitative as well at times. Anthropology also studies physical aspects related to evolution and biology, while sociology mainly focuses upon cultural and social aspects. Let's move on to the relationship of sociology with history. So, historians, almost as a rule, study the past, while sociologists are more interested in the contemporary or the recent past and present. History, earlier historians were content to delineate the actual events, to establish how things actually happened, but in sociology, the focus was to establish causal relationships. History studies concrete details with an objective discussion of real events. On the other hand, sociology is more likely to categorize and generalize the particular events from concrete reality. Finally, history looks at events from the framework of time, and sociology looks at events and institutions from the perspective of nature of relations involved. And more or less, when we say history and sociology, the uh, the basic premise is just we usually say that sociology came from history, and they are the most inseparable disciplines that exists out there. Now let's move on and see what is the contrast or similarity between economics and sociology. As I'm reading through the slides, you will be able to grasp the fact that there is no necessary explanation that can be done about these particular subtopics and component of your syllabus. Also, when we are referring to this relationship of sociology with other social sciences, the way these questions will be asked in CUET-PG will be that CUET-PG will ask you, will give you assertion reasoning, or would give you a lot of options and then ask you which of the following options can be said to be correctly matched when it says that economics and sociology are interrelated, right? So you have to be prepared for these questions. Overall, this particular lecture does not have a lot of questions that are asked from it, but CUET-PG can be unpredictable and can ask you these questions. But and this is very easy to understand, and it is very factual and less explanation heavy. So I'm just reading through the slides, and I hope that you are making keyword oriented notes while I read through these slides. So economics scope is narrow and specific, while sociology has a wider scope as it studies all the aspects of human activity, including economic aspect as well, which the example can be given that of Karl Marx. Economists would lay emphasis on the relationship between pure economic variables like relationship of price and supply, money flows and input output. Sociology would study the production enterprise as a social organization. The supply of labor as affected by values and preferences, influences of education on economic behavior, and role of caste system in economic development. Traditional economists seek to understand economic activity in a broader framework of ownership of relationship to the means of production. On the other hand, sociologists have criticized the economic theory as being reductionist in nature, and according to them, the economist's conception of man ignores the role of various social factors which influences the human behavior. Economics is more systemized and is more scientific. Economic theorists try to give laws which can predict the economic phenomena with a fair accuracy. But sociology, unlike economics, usually does not provide technical solutions, but it encourages a critical perspective. Lastly, economics scope of building theory and law is more. Law of demand and supply is universal in application, while sociological laws are less universal in nature, as there is little consensus in sociology itself over the perspective which should be used. And now we'll finally look at the difference and contrast between political science and sociology. Conventional political science restricted itself mainly to the study of state and power, while sociology again has a wider scope and is devoted to the study of all aspects of society. Subject matter of political science is more codified than sociology, which is more open ended in its approach. Finally, political science primarily tends to turn attention towards the processes within the government and its relationship with people, but sociology stresses the interrelationship between the sets of institutions, including government. With this, we come to the end of this particular lecture. I hope this lecture was clear to you. I know it was not an explanation heavy lecture, and all you had to do was to make notes, keyword oriented notes, for you to score a great number of marks in CUET PG examination. If there are any doubts in the video, please re-watch the video. If your doubt persists after watching and re-watching of the video, you can always reach out. I hope this lecture was clear to you. As I said, this is not a lecture where a lot of questions will be asked, But again, we need to be ready of the whole of the syllabus, and we know which components are more important than other components as well. Please go through previous year questions as well so that you can be able to get an idea about what type of questions does CUET-PG asks in the examination. I will see you in the next video. Till then, happy studying. Thank you.